Welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today is a real quick video just to show you a couple more things about the river pieces. This is mostly to show you how I'm shipping them now, what kind of method I've come up with, which was born out of one of the suggestions that I got from one of the viewers of a previous video that was discussing some of the problems I had been having with the river surfaces. And just a couple other quick mentions I wanted to include about the rivers, something that might be useful if you ever purchase some and they arrive, some tips on how to keep them clean, and some other things that I've noticed over the years as I've been working with them. So let's take a closer look. So this side here shows you how the rivers are going to be shipped from now on. And one of the customers, one of the viewers of one of the previous videos had mentioned making a cardboard box for each of the river pieces and then double-siding tape them down into the middle of that so that they'd be protected. That's a lot of cardboard to try to fold and cut, but I like the idea of having something to protect the surface on it. And since I'm not able to actually build up a strong enough surface on the top and maintain that wave pattern to protect it from bubble wrap marks, this is a sort of modification that I came up with that I think is going to work out well. So basically, let me move this over. There we go. Basically, each layer is a cardboard layer that then has a river piece taped to it. And the river piece is a double-sided tape to it. And then I'm just cutting some foam slats I should say, that sit on either side. So I just stack it up like that. Stack, stack, stack. And actually I'm going to leave this one out for a second so I can talk about something else. And then I can go ahead and tape that all together when it's done. And by taping it together pretty firmly with some masking tape, these are pretty solid in there. I mean, I'm not going to expect it to go through a hurricane, but this is going to keep at least any weight off of the surface of each piece. And it actually does a really nice job of giving a little extra protection to some of the foliage, which sometimes can get, you know, maybe a little bent over when you wrap it in bubble wrap. So I think this is probably the most pristine way I can ship them now. The other thing I wanted to mention, so let's take a look at this piece here. Make sure I keep it in frame, is that when I cut these pieces, actually I don't cut them, I'm sorry, when I cast them, you may find actually that there are different bottoms to each piece. You know, I've had some pieces on the shelf for a while and I've changed some of my casting materials, so sometimes you're going to see that the bottoms might not necessarily match because materials have been improved over time in selection and you know, alternates for costs and warping, and there's a whole reason why I've tried a whole bunch of resins over time. But in any case, they might not match. But I do take effort to sand the sides down after they come out of the mold to make sure that they produce a nice flush join with the next piece. But what I've noticed over time, I'll take this one off, there's the double-sided tape, is that sometimes when I go to join them, they might not actually make a perfectly flush union. Sometimes that's because there's a little bit of flocking that's gotten onto the edges of these pieces, and you know, it's hard for me to clean it off. See, I can feel a little bit here, and certainly, here, I'll tell you what I mean right here. Well, it's not going to focus very well. Focus. There we go. So you can see there that, you know, that's not entirely cleaned off. I do try to go through and clean off those edges prior to shipping, but sometimes, you know, they escape me. It's hard for me to catch every single thing on every single piece I ship, and you know, it depends on how clean it was when I was applying it and all those things. So what I found is sometimes just taking the pieces on the table if they don't quite join flush and just giving them a little side-to-side action. And that, blow that off, and that tends to improve the joining, just rubs that off a little bit and gives it a nice, better flush join. You only have to do that once, and only on the pieces where I've missed those spots. You know, you can just give them a little side-to-side rub, and you're going to get a much tighter join. The joins aren't always 100% perfect because these are hand cast, this isn't machined, so I can't guarantee, you know, micron attachment between all these pieces, but I think overall you're going to find that the quality outshines any little gaps that you might find in there, and I am trying to always improve that control and get as tight a joint as I possibly can. The other thing I wanted to include was a little tip about dusting them. A customer recently inquired about, whether he was concerned that because of the Mod Podge surface and some of the, concerns I've had with the softness of it in terms of bubble wrap and bridges and things leaving indentations on them, whether that was going to be a problem for keeping the surface dust free. And really, you don't have to worry. Because they're coated with varnish at the end, it gives them a very tack-free surface, so this doesn't feel tacky at all. This is a very smooth, glossy finish. And then I just take a paper towel and I just dab it with a tiny bit of water. I don't know if that's going to show. Oh yeah, just a tiny, tiny bit of moisture, and then I just give them a quick wipe down. Takes about 2 seconds, and no matter where you store these pieces, they're going to get dusty over time, and on a glossy surface it's going to show more. But I just give it a quick wipe like that, leaves it scratch free, takes the dust off, and doesn't interfere with any of the surface coatings. Simple to do, quick, and it's a great way to just make sure you keep your pieces looking as pristine as you can. And one other thing that this customer who's receiving this order asked is if he could just get a little bit of a closer look up of the narrows, where I had tried to accentuate the actual flow of the river by producing tiny white caps and giving them a little painting. So here's just a quick close-up of what the texture of that water looks like. You can see it's just got a little more movement, got a little picking up of the white caps with a little bit of paint. And in some spots, I even, let's see if I can find a good spot for you here. I just streak the paint just a little bit. You can see a couple hints of it right in here, just to give it a little more of an essence of movement, something to give that illusion. It's not very strong, but it's just enough to kind of impart, certainly a big difference from the more wider areas that have a lot more slower movement. So just wanted to give you one last close-up of that, and probably won't be revisiting the rivers for a while, so this is a good chance to get a last look at one of the differences that I've put onto one of the surfaces. So I just wanted again to give you a chance to see what these rivers look like as they're stacked up ready to ship, give you an idea of what kind of solution I came up with. It's the solution I've got at this moment, and there might be something down the road that's a little bit easier, as it does take me a little bit of time to cut all this cardboard and cut all of these slats to support it all. But it's the most important thing for me is that when it arrives and the box gets opened, it comes out in the best condition it can. And I think this is the best way I can do it for the time being. So, of course, anybody has any ideas on how this could be improved in terms of speed or packing or general stability, of the structure, feel free to include some comments down below. But I think this is where I'm going to stick with for the next, several months at least, as I try to work on improving some other areas of the shop. Now that I feel like I can put away the water effects as a problem, at least for the rest of this year. Of course, if you ever want to contact me, you can always try to email me at Mike@TerranScapes.com, and you can always go to TerranScapes.com to see the newsletter. I post a lot of updates there on what kinds of things I'm working on in the shop, maybe problems I'm trying to sleuth through, or maybe new developments, areas I want to work on, information about how the store reopening in November might be different than the way it's been running this year. So keep an eye on that, and of course there's photos there of all the products up close that you can take a look at that are a little bit truer to color, and certainly with some macros so you can see some of the detail really close up. But other than that, I think that's about all I've got for you today, so I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.